Hi, everyone. I am Pierana Pironi. Can everyone hear me? From Brooklyn College, College Now program. And to my right is Christy Hodgkins from CAMBA. And while you're taking in the title of our presentation, I just want to say that we are also really thankful to both have this collaboration and to be able to talk about partnership, something that we've, in our 9 years of collaboration, struggled and communicated quite a lot about. And we really feel that our partnership, when we think about it, is very much like a marriage or a relationship, except that it involves multiple institutions and multiple stakeholders. And we think that that relational aspect, from what we've seen in both of our sectors, is often lost in the discussion of collaborations in that focus on the services that are going to be offered, the institutions that are going to be involved, but not necessarily all of the stakeholders and how they're going to make that partnership work. And that's what we want to focus on today. So I just want to briefly introduce the College Now program at Brooklyn College, which is part of a long-standing collaboration between DOE and CUNY that serves New York City public high school students, giving them opportunities to prepare for college as well as earn college credit while still in high school. And offers academic and other kinds of supports in order to facilitate and scaffold their success in those experiences.
And thinking back to earlier this morning when Desiree was saying that in this initiative, Teagle was like the matchmaker, that is really how CAMBA and College Now and the School for Democracy and Leadership came together as a partnership. College Now had been a presence in, for those of you from Brooklyn, in the what was used to be called the old Wingate High School campus next to Kings County Hospital, which was being transformed about 2004, 2005 from a very large comprehensive high school into small learning communities, New Visions public schools with a community partner. So College Now had been there for a number of years. CAMBA was also there as not the founding community partner with the School for Democracy and Leadership, but the community partner at the time. And part of our work was focusing on creating in this new high school a college-bound culture. And I still remember when the founding principal had gotten an email about the Teagle RFP, and she contacted both of us and said we need to work together on this. And so we came up with our Leading to College program, which what is described in the brochure is one piece of the program, the summer piece. It is actually a year-round program. We serve cohorts of young people starting when they're going into their sophomore year. To say that it is an intense collaboration is a real understatement, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But basically, if you're familiar with the College Now program, you know, the young people in Leading to College move through College Now's pre-college and college credit courses. CAMBA, which is embedded still at the School for Democracy and Leadership. And in the prior presentation, somebody talked about, you know, nagging the kids. We stalk them basically all the time about where are they going, what are they doing. CAMBA is providing social supports, workshops to the kids. Together with the college and the school, we're doing a lot of other kinds of experiential things, which we'll talk about later.
With students and families.
That's right.
So if we were going to present the holiday newsletter version of this partnership, we would talk about the 9 years we've been collaborating together. As of last year, well over 200 students served, over 600 college credits earned, and that doesn't include the students who, for whatever reason, didn't earn college credit. We would talk about some of the preliminary research that CUNY research folks have done, tracking these students into college and looking at their positive trending towards 4-year colleges versus 2-year, and greater credit accumulation and grade point average and persistence into the 3rd semester. And a lot of those markers of success, which are real achievements for, by comparison to the school's outcomes before this program. And we would talk about some of the other highlights, conferences that we've presented at, disseminating information, including the AERA, which we're going to be presenting at with students on Monday, which is really exciting for the first time with
in
LCC
Texas.
students. In Texas, yes. Incredible achievements by students in terms of colleges and scholarships and other achievements. But that would be a very small picture of the actual collaboration.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the reality, right? And I just like to say when I send out my holiday card, which I actually don't, I do as a New Year's card because it gives me more time. My picture is never as good as that holiday newsletter. Ideal. Mine's more like, can the kids get in the camera at the same time? Because we are an intense partnership, and a very intense collaboration that is year-round. Despite the really very deep planning and intentional planning that we did to prepare our application to the Teagle Foundation, which included very long meetings at the School for Democracy and Leadership with key administrators, guidance counselors, key folks from CAMBA, including me and Pirana and the team from College Now. We struggled. And, you know, we went through, I think, what was the initial honeymoon period. I forgot to mention, College Now being present in the Wingate campus, about 5 students from SDL had been taking advantage of the College Now program. So when we started with our Teagle-funded partnership, you know, by September or October of the first year, we had 90 kids from SDL doing College Now. And apparently, things did not, again, despite how much Pirana and I and the principal and the school guidance counselor had really talked about, and going back to what Pirana said, what we were each going to do and what the service was and what the model was, we were hit with reality, and the honeymoon period ended very quickly. And one of the first things that we really struggled with in the beginning was the differences in our institutional cultures. I think we are all in agreement that, you know, and I think each of our institutions would have said, yeah, we're about taking kids from where they are, giving them the experiences, the scaffolding, the support that they need to get to where they need to be, right? But when we were actually working together, all kinds of questions came up, right? Our school partner wanted to know, well, how much of this College Now experience can be tailored to the students, including possibly having a professor come from like 11:04 to 11:58 to teach a class every day, right? We at CAMBA were concerned about trying to, you know, if we got 90 kids enrolled, we wanted every one of them to be successful, whatever support it took. And then there were questions on the College Now side of, you know, we're trying to give young people an authentic college experience. So how much of that can be modified? And, you know, what do we need to do? And, you know, like a marriage, I'll be frank, there were times when we did not want to talk to each other. But we did come to the table, or I should say, and especially sometimes our staff who were really seeing each other every day. Rich, who's the offsite coordinator for College Now, would come to SDL. I do want to give a shout out to Makari Agapito, who is one of our instructors. She was teaching at SDL, one of the courses. But we kept coming to the table, and we had to have, and Pirana will talk about this, some really, you know, hard conversations, kind of the kind that happen or should in a marriage or a relationship if you're trying to stay together, about how we were going to work through it. And one thing that we did around the managing this reality of the differences in institutional cultures is that we created this good standing brochure, which really laid out, here's what we expect, here are all the supports, here are the consequences for kids, and here's how we want parents to be involved. I want to keep in mind, or have you all keep in mind, that there were a lot of challenging circumstances. I think the biggest one that I want to emphasize briefly is the multiple demands on these students. These are high school students who were sophomores, juniors, and seniors. One of the things we were trying to do with Leading to College at SDL was the school had a lot of opportunities for kids who needed maybe remedial support, but there wasn't a lot for the higher achieving kids. And so this was an opportunity for them, but then these were the same kids who were going to be taking AP classes or who were going to represent the school for posse or choro, but then we needed them, and they might want to do cheerleading or, you know, baseball after school, but they needed to be going to Brooklyn College to take a class. And you know, what we would see sometimes is that the kids would just get paralyzed. If they knew they had to be, you know, at a practice, but also a College Now class, in the beginning, what we would find, and maybe this will shock you or not, is they wouldn't go to either one. They wouldn't know what to do. So they would do none of those things. And part of our programming evolved to include on-site workshops at the schools to sort of develop soft skills and problem solving and learn how to write an appropriate email to a professor that is from an email account that is not like, you know, love you forever, Jenny, or something like that, and that would be mild. So we also, that was sort of a very big challenge. And other two things I want to mention just very briefly is, you know, we've been partners for 9 years, and the landscape has changed a lot. You know, I don't know if, when we started at SDL, being a New Visions partner, we had funding from New Visions. And, you know, I know another group is going to talk next about sustainability. Well, ultimately, obviously, the New Visions money went away. The only way for us to keep our presence at SDL with full-time staff, in addition to our funds from Teagle, was to provide more direct services. And we did that, and we still do, and we've managed to keep full-time positions, though the folks in those positions have changed a bit. But, you know, they have increased demands on their time, which is very challenging. We've had 3 different principals in this time, and our school has changed a lot. When we started, it was, you know, had just been founded and was moving in one trajectory. It has, the enrollment has declined significantly, and some pretty significant other changes are happening coming up. And that sort of leads me to the last thing I want to say briefly, is that one of our biggest realities is that we did have imperfect realizations of our ideal outcomes. And this is when I really want to give a shout out to Desiree and the Teagle Foundation, and you know, food for thought for other folks from funders that are out there. One thing that's been really amazing about Teagle is that it has not just been about the numbers, but you said you were going to do this. It has really been about understanding the context of the work. You know, Desiree and our program officer before Desiree, Annie, they would look up our school's report card when schools used to have report cards, and then they would get our narrative. And, you know, we appreciated them saying things to us like, you know, the fact that you have 35 to 45 kids from this school actively participating and being successful, like, let's talk about that and how, and that's great. And that has been really, really huge for us because, as with all of us, we put forth what we think is going to happen. And we, you know, we're working very hard to make it happen, but the landscape does change.
We looked up what the 10-year anniversary was, which is what our partnership is approaching, and we found out that it is the 10th anniversary, rather inauspicious for what we think we've accomplished. Yeah. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go through these bullet points real quickly because I know that we're running late. We consider these the sort of 4 pillars of our successful relationship. But what they come down to is that in our partnership, there are multiple stakeholders who are in constant communication around the services that we're providing to the students. Most importantly, I think, understanding, and Christy made reference to this, the differences that we have in institutional cultures, and most importantly, probably for College Now in particular, and working with a community-based organization, understanding in a much deeper way the context in which our students are in school, in which their families are navigating life, in which Canva is doing its work. These are opportunities that we don't necessarily get at Brooklyn's College Now program because it's a campus-based program. Our students self-select normally, and they come to us. This relationship has given us an opportunity to really understand what it takes for them to get to us and how we can work with the school, with the families, with Canva, and all the other stakeholders to help them get to us and support them in that process, in that trajectory. And the outcome of that is really a mutual respect of all of the circumstances in which we're working, and a coming together around shared, articulating and then enacting a set of shared values that all of the stakeholders contribute to creating and then carrying out. And then, sometimes neglected, but we think really important, commemorating anniversaries. Every year we have a huge stepping up ceremony at the end of the year in June. You'll see a little clip from the stepping up video that Ms. Barnes from Canva, who works closely with the students, created for last year's stepping up ceremony. In which we really acknowledge how much hard work everybody has done to, for the students to achieve the successes that they do in our program. I think we can go on. Back one slide.
Some of the things that we do together and some of the pictures that you see up here. And the reason Miss Barnes isn't here right now is we are taking the kids on an overnight college trip tomorrow, so she's working on that. That's something that we do every year. I want to mention our induction ceremony in the fall where the families come together with us to set goals around college. We have a family day that Brooklyn College hosts that our kids go to. Brooklyn College, College Now, tutors, lead tutoring sessions and workshops on campus and on site at the school for the kids. So those are just sort of some of the pictures that are there.
And thank you all for your time.
Thank you.